Hello, welcome to my video, guys. So for this evening, we're going to do a response video to a World Economic Forum video by Yuval Noah Harari. He's a outspoken gentleman, to say the least, and he is a frequent person that talks on the World Economic stage. What he reveals without shame, without not in the shadows, is quite striking and quite a bit concerning. So this is a very anti-humanistic philosophy. This just shows exactly what the World Economic Forum hasn't planned for us and how they pretty much despise us, and that we're going to be used basically as cattle, while at the same time not being allowed to eat cattle. So let's put it. All right, so let's get started. We're going to watch this a little bit at a time, and I'll stop and comment when something comes up. I've seen the first part of this video, and I've never watched it completely through, and I think that there'll be a lot of talking pieces as we see this. I'm going to just share screen. I'm going to try it like this and see how this format works. Most important is that you're hearing him speak. And this is the video per se. So just before we start, so I want you to look at the stage. There's a AI, artificial intelligence looking face here. You got what, kind of gives the impression that these are electronic. And then I'm going to stop it because eventually after this one, this appears at the start and as well as at the end. But what is very disturbing is the image in between, which I pretty much, knowing Yuval Harari, he is a huge hater of God. So he's not just an agnostic, he is an atheist, and he particularly hates the Judeo-Christian God, if you've seen any of his previous talks.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a conversation with Professor Yuval Noah Harari.
I'm going to fast forward for brevity. All right, here's this demon. And I'm not saying that jokingly.
So, hello everybody. Let me just have 1 minute to get friends with this computer and make sure everything is okay. And can I have a bit more light on the audience so I can see the faces and not just speak to a darkness? Thank you.
Dude, you are darkness.
So, I want to talk to you today about the future of our species and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations.
You did not notice the change in the background picture, guys? Who's this? Looks a lot like Jesus. That's not put up there for nothing.
So I want to talk to you today about the future of our species and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens. Within a century or two, Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. Because
So we'll be dominated by entities, and these entities will be just as different as we are to chimpanzees.
Coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds.
So they're going to learn how to engineer body, brains, and minds. That sounds really encouraging.
These will be the main products of the economy of the 20th.
So they're going to engineer bodies, brains, minds, and these things will be the new commodities. So we're actually the new product. We're, so we're going to look into further exactly how they're going to engineer our minds as well as our bodies. So the Harari's really into transhumanism, which is adding technology into our body to have, to be basically like a cyborg eventually. We have heard a little bit Elon Musk, talking about neural links, but this is not just some fringe idiot that's a psychopath speaking. This is somebody speaking at the World Economic Forum, where many of our global leaders are pretty much partners. We can also jump onto the World Economic's main page and look at who are partners with the World Economic Forum. Not sure the exact amount, but it is an extremely expensive price to be a partner in the World Economic Forum. And you have every single possible industry all over the world that are partners. So basically all of humanity has been sold out. They speak about stakeholder capitalism. This is where the people who have stakes in it and are producing the money are the ones that they care about. So it's no longer democratic elected officials that will be governing and telling us what to do and creating laws, regulations, and restrictions. It's going to be these billionaire companies. And when we look at just basically companies already, there's just a handful of extremely large corporations at the top, and it trickles down with this wide variety of companies. But in reality, it's just a handful of large corporations that own all these multitude of different companies.
21st century economy, not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data.
All right, so we have the World Economic Forum that is talking about the future masters of the planet. Let's rewind just a little bit to hear that again. Every single thing that's coming out of this guy's mouth, like literally every sentence, is so demonic and disgusting. And the fact that this is on the World Economic Forum and no longer in the shadows, how people talk about the Illuminati, talk about Freemasonry, talk about the Skull and Bones Society. I think it's in Yale. All of these secret societies that work, in the background, in the shadows. Well, this is all out in the open. You got to ask yourself why. Why are they so confident now in speaking about this?
Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like?
So he's making statements. The future masters of the planet. Who are they masters over? All of humanity. And believe me, they don't want 8 billion of us to master over.
This will be decided by the people who own the data.
So who owns the data? These large corporations, these large tech companies, for example. So the large tech companies that own the data will be the new masters of the world. They will be the new global elites that will imprison us with AI technology. The more that technology will build this promised utopia that will barely have to work and everything paralyze everything from our biological status. AI will be able to literally look at facial recognition and know if we are angry or not. We will be manipulated with these algorithms. In fact, Harari is about to say that humans are nothing but a biological soupy algorithm. It's a completely dehumanized approach. And this is the World Economic Forum. Obviously, if this guy was ranting about all of these insane things, then he'd be discredited and they wouldn't invite him back. Yet he is all over the World Economic Platform and people love him, which makes me wonder what kind of spirit of delusion and deception is coming upon us in what I believe are the seasons verging towards the end times.
Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself. Because today, data is the most important asset in the world. In ancient times, land was the...
So the World Economic Forum's agenda is pretty obvious already, that they will control the data. They will manipulate us and control us with that data. And what did he say? I'm just going to rewind again a little bit more what he was saying.
This will be decided by the people who own the data.
So the people who own the data, the large tech companies, they will be deciding what we need and how we should be, how we should live on this earth. This is going to be a complete genocidal enslavement world, which is not far from the prophecies about the beast system. The Antichrist and the Christian prophecies about the Great Tribulation and the horrible, horrible stuff that's going on in the end times. The Antichrist, this one world global leader, will not come and emerge on stage if we still have countries and national interests. Everything has to be globalized, and though the World Economic Forum is not the beast system at the moment, these are essential foundations that have to be set. Even the way we were handled during the pandemic, this was all a test. This was testing the waters. They're already able to analyze billions and billions of data per second. All of our complaints, all of our reactions, all of our posting, probably even the cameras on our phone are probably, without us even knowing, recording everything. In the future, it will literally be so advanced, the AI and the facial recognition, as well as the biometrics, the technology that will literally in 24/7 be analyzing our own biology. Will be able to even find out if we're doing thought crimes just by our reactions, all these subtle things that AI can compute, and they'll be able to probably lock us up eventually, even without us sharing our opinions. They'll just be able to tell if we're in agreement or not.
Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
So they're not controlling humanity isn't enough. They want to control life itself. Now, guys, we already have CRISPR technology. We already have gene editing. So it's quite possible that they can engineer humans that are kind of like worker bees. Now, worker bees are actually quite smart, but what I'm saying is they can genetically modify humans that will be basically workers, that they can make their IQ very low. They can use gene editing to create humans that will work within the system and have no complaint about it. They don't really care. If you see how they're going after the children with the new ideologies, with the propaganda, with these teachers that seem to be on, especially on online, you see these teacher activists with, I'll call them ideologies. They're really creating, they're not even teaching anymore. They don't care about core courses. They don't care if the kids come out illiterate or not. They care if they come out with the appropriate ideologies. Us guys that are 40, 50, that are not buying into this stuff, doesn't matter. We're going to die off now. It's the next generation that they have to brainwash. And this is why we see the attack on children on all levels.
Because today, data is the most important asset in the world. In ancient times, land was the most important asset. And if too much land became concentrated in too few hands, humanity split into aristocrats and commoners. Then in the modern age, in the last 2 centuries, machinery replaced land as the most important asset. And if too many of the machines became concentrated in too few hands, humanity split into classes, into capitalists and proletariats. Now data.
See, the era of finance, the era of money is pretty much over. In fact, I think that the recent 3 years was a perfect way of further hastening the global financial collapse. Money, they don't need. If they enslave us and they have all the land, and they are the ones that have all the AI technology and the surveillance, that's going to be reinforced by militarized army and stuff like that. Finance is no longer necessary. So what they'll do is that we will receive digital credits, and these digital credits that come out of nowhere are going to be our portion. They'll be our table scraps, and we'll be able to enjoy those credits if we follow our overlords, as he said it, the masters of the world. If we don't play along with the narrative, then we won't get any or as much of those digital credits. There's no more money to switch hands. That means there's no more financial privacy. I give you $2, Big Brother knows about it. We saw in the recent Freedom Convoy how Canada froze bank accounts of protesters. Not only that, they actually threatened people that merely donated through PayPal or FundMe pages. So we know that once money is completely digitalized, if you're going against the narrative, then you will be cast out of society digitally at a push of a button.
Is replacing machinery as the most important asset. And if too much of the data becomes concentrated in too few hands, humanity will split not into classes. It will split into species, into different species.
Mm.
Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. There is a lot of talk these days about hacking computers and email accounts and bank accounts and mobile phones, but actually we are gaining the ability to hack human beings. Now, what do you need
So it's no more your body, your choice, right? It's your body, your choice if you want to abort a baby, and they are babies. But when it comes to healthy, happy medicine, then for some reason the narrative that is vomited out through the media as the overlords' mouthpieces, then all of a sudden they'll say stuff like, well, it's not about you, it's about others, which was totally nonsensical. Didn't make any sense. I think you guys know what topic I'm talking about. So they're going to hack us. Do you think we'll have a choice with these hacks? No. Again, your freedom, your ability to work, your freedom on every level will constantly be dangled in front of you unless you shut up and you go with the program. And if the last 3 years has shown me anything, the majority of the population actually will go along with this.
in order to hack a human being? You need two things. You need a lot of computing power, and you need a lot of data, especially biometric data. Not data about what I buy or where I go, but data about what is happening inside my body and inside my brain.
So do you think that this is going to kind of be like our Fitbits, where, if you want to track your calories or your heart rate and stuff like that? No, these biometrics will be installed on us, whether it's externally or internally. No choice. This isn't going to be an option. They're not asking us if we want to take part. Yes, they're doing these things here, there, a little bit, China's, huge on the surveillance system, cameras everywhere, facial recognition, and the social credit score, where if you are not a good citizen, then you get restrictions, and these restrictions can go pretty severe, to the point probably of imprisonment, if not more.
Until today, nobody had the necessary computing power and the necessary data to hack humanity. Even if the Soviet KGB or the Spanish Inquisition followed you around everywhere, 24 hours a day, watching everything you do, listening to everything you say, still they didn't have the computing power and the biological knowledge necessary to make sense of what was happening inside your body.
So what they're saying is, well, this has been our agenda the whole time. We just had to wait for the technology to catch up with our demonic, satanic takeover of the world.
In brain, and to understand how you feel and what you think and what you want. But this is now changing because of two simultaneous revolutions. On the one hand, advances in computer science, and especially the rise of machine learning and AI, are giving us the necessary computing power. And at the same time, advances in biology, and especially in brain science, are giving us the necessary understanding, biological understanding. You can really summarize 150 years of biological research since Charles Darwin in 3 words.
You gotta have that dehumanized Charles Darwin foundation. You gotta have Darwinism, where we're just primordial soup that's evolved. We're just a bunch of proteins working on a algorithm. It, of course, you know, the whole West has been founded on the idea that we're made in the image of God, and therefore the individual rights are extremely upheld. Already in the last 3 years, we've seen that it doesn't matter if the individual, if their rights are trampled on, as long as it benefits a greater majority. Doesn't matter if you looked at the science, you had concerns about the happy, healthy medicine, you looked at your age group, and you made a decision for yourself, right? No, everything doesn't matter if you even caught the illness and believed in natural immunity. No, you have to get it, or else you can't travel and you can't do stuff. So again, you know, we had a lot of people talking about the mark of the beast during the last 3 years with the happy, healthy jibby jab. It's not the mark of the beast, but it was definitely something that the satanic overlords were analyzing, looking at how the population was reacting to these measures, looking how the population was segregating themselves, looking at how the population were going after each other.
Organisms are algorithms. This is the big insight of the modern life sciences.
It's amazing how, like, I can play it for literally 3 seconds and have to stop. You heard him say that humans are merely algorithms. So listen to the words that he's using, that humans are algorithms. He talks about hacking the human body. Do you understand that the World Economic Forum doesn't see us as human? This is a satanic, demonic, anti-human spirit running this for total global domination of not only our freedoms, but our very thoughts and biology.
That organisms, whether viruses or bananas or humans, they are really just biochemical algorithms.
Doesn't matter, virus, banana, you, all the same. In fact, they view us like viruses.
And we are learning how to decipher these algorithms. Now, when the two revolutions merge, when the infotech revolution merges with the biotech revolution, what you get is the ability to hack human beings. And maybe the most important invention for the merger of infotech and biotech is the biometric sensor that translates biochemical processes in the body and the brain into electronic signals that a computer can store and analyze. And once you have enough such biometric information and enough computing power, you can create algorithms that know me better than I know myself. And
It's funny because Satan is always trying to imitate God. So God is omnipresent. The surveillance state will be omnipresent. Everything will be tracking you, analyzing you. God is all-knowing. The AI, also not just the computing power of AI, but what I mean is its ability to look at our biometrics, look at our facial recognition and all of the other things that are way over my head, so that Satan, through technology, will be able to again try and imitate the characteristics or the attributes of God Almighty. So all-knowing, God is all-knowing. Well, this way Satan can use this system to mimic that he is all-knowing too. So they definitely have all-knowing and omnipresent, artificially, satanically created.
Humans really don't know themselves very well. This is why algorithms have a real chance of getting to know ourselves better. We don't really know ourselves. To give an example, when I was 21, I finally realized that I was gay after living for several years in denial. And this is not exceptional. A lot of gay men live in denial for many years. They don't know something very important about themselves. Now imagine the situation in 10 or 20 years when an algorithm can tell any teenager exactly where he or she is on the gay-straight spectrum. And even...
Okay, now I need AI to tell me if I'm gay or not. Okay, thank you. That's freaking hilarious. My computer's going to let me know what turns me on.
How malleable this position is. The algorithm tracks your eye movements, your blood pressure, your brain activity, and tells you who you are. Now, maybe you personally wouldn't like to make use of such an algorithm.
But we do.
Maybe you find yourself in some boring birthday party of somebody from your class at school, and one of your friends has this wonderful idea that I've just heard about this cool new algorithm that tells you your sexual orientation, and wouldn't it be a lot of fun if everybody just takes turns testing themselves on this algorithm as everybody else is watching and commenting? What would you do? Would you just walk away? And even if you walk away, and even if you keep hiding from your classmates or from yourself, you will not be able to hide from Amazon and Alibaba and the secret police. As you surf the internet, as you watch videos or check your social feed, the algorithms will be monitoring your eye movements, your blood pressure, your brain activity, and they will know. They could tell Coca-Cola.
So, these biometrics, like I said, highly doubt that it's going to be something external. Okay, it's going to be something internal. And I don't think that it will be optional. Guys, we're on a verge of mass genocide. I'm telling you, that is my prediction. That's my intuition that's saying that we will be exterminated on every level, whether it's the poisons that they're putting on our clothing, on our deodorant, on our shampoos and everything. We're getting attacked on every level. I mean, just like parabens. Parabens are estrogenic. There are tons of hormone disruptors. Testosterone is decreasing every decade, lower and lower and lower. That's a great way of depopulating. Another way is non-heterosexual lifestyles. Now, like I said, that I'm not being a bigot. If your sexual orientation, you start realizing that you're attracted to the opposite sex, fine. But the brain is very malleable. And if you're trying to ingrain those kind of behaviors in children from the youngest age, you can turn them to a certain persuasion. So the idea of having children, they're using the environment, say that, it's very you're selfish basically, and you're destroying Mammy Earth if you want to have a large family. And I'm sure that just like China, the Chinese experiment of limiting childbirth will be set globally also. Their rate is so on the decline that they've developed sex robots. In China, there's not enough women for all the men, so they've come up with basically sex robots.
Cola, that if you want to sell this person some fuzzy, sugary drink, don't use the advertisement with the shirtless girl. Use the advertisement with the shirtless guy. You wouldn't even know that this was happening, but they will know, and this information will be worth billions. Once we have algorithms that can understand me better than I understand myself, they could predict my desires, manipulate my emotions, and even take decisions on.
So notice the word manipulate. This is a complete dystopian nightmare, guys. And they're openly talking like, I'm from Canada. Trudeau, we have infiltrated the cabinet. I mean, Klaus Schwab Ding Dong is definitely talking about at least a handful. I remember specifically that the president or prime minister, whatever they call the leader there in France, and Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau has spoken online saying how he respects very much China and their dictatorship. The way he's running Canada also shows it. So we have so many world leaders that have sold out their nations for this global takedown.
My behalf. And if we are not careful, the outcome might be the rise of digital dictatorships.
No, really?
In the 20th century,
It might happen.
Democracy
Maybe
generally outperformed dictatorship because democracy was better at processing data and making decisions. We are used to thinking about democracy and dictatorship in ethical or political terms, but actually, these are two different methods to process information. Democracy processes information in a distributed way. It distributes the information and the power to make decisions between many institutions and individuals. Dictatorship, on the other hand, concentrates all the information and power in one place. Now, given the technological conditions of the 20th century, distributed data processing worked better than centralized data processing, which is one of the main reasons why democracy outperformed dictatorship and why, for example, the US economy outperformed the Soviet economy. But this is true only.
Yeah, but then you look at China's economy and they are a dictatorship. And that's exactly what Trudeau was talking about, how through a dictatorship, they were able to rapidly increase their economy.
Under the unique technological conditions of the 20th century. In the 21st century, new technological revolutions, especially AI and machine learning, might swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. They might make centralized data processing far more efficient than distributed data processing. And if democracy cannot adapt to these new conditions, then humans will come to live under the rule of digital dictatorships. And already at present, we are seeing the formation of more and more sophisticated surveillance regimes throughout the world, not just by authoritarian regimes, but also by democratic governments. The US, for example, is building a global surveillance system, while my home country of Israel is trying to build a total surveillance regime in the West Bank. But control of data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because
As in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. That was a prophecy that Jesus said about the end times just prior to Jesus coming. If you've watched any of my videos, the Genesis 6, where the sons of God descended onto the daughters of man and bore children that were the Nephilim, that were angel human hybrids, therefore corrupting the genetic pool of God's creation. It said that the Nephilim sinned against birds, against animals, against all sorts of things. So we see that the minute that man starts tampering with genetic code, that's God's code. That's his blueprints. Okay, that's playing, behind the computer into, the binary system. The minute you start playing God and switching around the book of life, which DNA is in a way, a lot like a book, and I like to refer to it as the book of life. The minute you start changing and erasing and rewriting his book, he's not going to be too happy, especially when we start genetically engineering babies. He's not fond of children being abused.
because once you can
So all I'm saying is a big sign of the end time is when the danger of the human genome is put into question. The minute that our DNA and us losing human DNA through corruption and then breeding and just, getting this virus within our DNA, it's over. God's going to come and stop it. So this is a huge, huge indicator that we're in the season of the end.
hack something, you can usually also engineer it. And if indeed we succeed in hacking and engineering life, this will be not just the greatest revolution in the history of humanity. This will be the greatest revolution in biology since the very beginning of life 4 billion years ago. For 4 billion years, nothing fundamental changed in the basic.
See, if you don't believe that God, an intelligent designer, designed all of the world, all of the universe, the fine-tuned universe, the amazing body that he's created for us, if you don't believe that that's true, and if you just think that nothing created everything, and that just random selections and random chance brought us to where we are, then if you have that worldview, it just makes total sense that, well, if just blind nature, natural selection got us to where we are, well, we are intelligent and we're conscious and we're aware, we have a higher state of consciousness, so we can grab evolution by the reins and we can create man and the whole creation in our own image. This is extremely satanic. There's a Bible verse that talks about woe to them that take bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, which is what Satanism does. Everything is just flipped over. Everything is inverted. And this, I look and through my eyes, I see an inversion of God's creation, and it's extremely demonic. But what makes me think that this just goes beyond Yuval Noah Harari being a demonic possessed psychopath is that I hear no one outraged about this at work, no one talking about this, and I see a lot of global leaders sitting there very, very quietly sucking this up.
Rules of the game of life. All of life, for 4 billion years, dinosaurs, amoebas, tomatoes, humans, all of life was subject to the laws of natural selection.
Boom, yeah, I just said that. It was just, I have never watched this far. So it just made sense that I knew right away, of course, this is based on this worldview. Evolution is a religion of death. It basically says that there's small changes, small mutations that sometimes over long periods of time can be beneficial to the organism and give them an advantage. That mutation can give that organism an advantage over others. And basically, for this advantageous mutation to propagate and evolve, all of the others inferior species must die. And then there's another mutation or another natural selection that occurs. And so that this natural selection that's beneficial doesn't get just drowned out, then all of the previous must die. So evolution is a religion of death, basically. Again, an inversion.
And to the laws of organic biochemistry. But this is now about to change. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design.
Okay, so I'm pretty much guessing what he's going to say. Like I said, they think that, nothing created everything. He let us know, obviously, that, well, you're just a bunch of you're a biological soup, a biologically soupy algorithm that can be hacked, right? So if this came from nothing and there's no real purpose and there's no God that you have to, hold account to, then imagine what we can do if it's not just natural selection, but we put our intent to create something in our own image. This is like a metaphorical Tower of Babel. Let us build a tower that reaches to heaven. Let's build a staircase up to the realm of God so that we may be there as God, but through our own intelligence, our own views, our own vision.
Of some God above the clouds.
Ah, there you go.
But our intelligent design and the intelligent design of our clouds, the IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution. And at the same time, science may enable life after being confined for 4 billion years to the limited realm of organic compounds. Science may...
He's going to give the satanic promise that we can achieve, again, something that God promises, conditional immortality through Christ, the kingdom of heaven, the resurrection of the dead, the great day of the Lord, the judgment of the wicked, and those who enter the kingdom of God, who will have eternal life. Well, obviously, Satan has to promise you the same thing. He has to promise you immortality. And this will be in the form of probably upgrading or downloading our consciousness into a digital reality.
enable life to break out into the inorganic realm. So after 4 billion years of organic life shaped by natural selection, we are entering the era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. This is
Right, because God isn't intelligent. See, that's the problem. Godly people believe in intelligent design. Ungodly people believe also in intelligent design, but they believe that they're God and they will make a more intelligent design than what the Creator has created here on earth.
why the ownership of data is so important. If we don't regulate it, a tiny elite may come to control not just the future of human societies, but the shape of life forms in the future.
Oh yeah, you have our best interest. You guys aren't going to do
So
exactly
how to
that.
regulate the data, the ownership of data? We have had 10,000 years of experience regulating the ownership of land. We have had a few centuries of experience regulating the ownership of industrial machinery. But we don't have much experience in regulating the ownership of data, which is inherently far more difficult because unlike land and unlike machinery, data is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It can move at the speed of light, and you can create as many copies of it as you want. So does the data about my DNA, my brain, my body, my life, does it belong to me?
Yes.
Or to some corporation, or to the government, or perhaps to the human collective?
Again, it's that mentality of screw the individual. It's always about the majority. It's a very dangerous thing because, you know, the individual, the right of each individual is a God-given right. The West was formed on this Judeo-Christian idea that man is made in the image of God and is extremely valuable. But here, we're just like bananas or viruses. We're just a biological soupy algorithm. And it's just, again, an inversion. So this worldview is what is essential to lead to a genocide, because what this whole thing that I've been listening to is basically a dehumanization. And once the population is dehumanized, then they can be treated or viewed like a virus and tossed out like a banana.
At present, big corporations are holding much of the data, and people are becoming worried about it.
Oh, we're worried about
But
the
mandating governments to nationalize the data may curb the power of the big corporations only in order to give rise to digital dictatorships. And politicians really, many politicians at least, are like musicians. And the instrument they play on is the human emotional and biochemical system. A politician gives a speech and there is a wave of fear all over the country. A politician tweets and there is an explosion of anger and hatred. Now, I don't think we should give these musicians more sophisticated instruments to play on. And I certainly don't think they are ready to be entrusted with the future of life in the universe.
But
especially as many politicians.
But Harari, we can trust him, right? We can trust Bill Gates. We can trust Fauci.
And governments seem incapable of producing meaningful visions for the future. And instead, what they sell the public are nostalgic fantasies about going back to the past. And as a historian, I can tell you two things about the past. First of all, it wasn't fun you wouldn't like to really go back there. And secondly, it's not coming back. So nostalgic fantasies really are not a solution. So who should own the data? I frankly don't know. I think the discussion has just begun. Most people, when they hear the talk about regulating data, they think about privacy, about shopping, about companies, corporations that know where I go and what I buy. But this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Just a little bit, that's nothing.
There are much more important things at stake. So the discussion has hardly begun, and we cannot expect instant answers. We had better call upon our scientists, our philosophers, our lawyers, and even our poets, or especially our poets, to turn their attention.
I think we should really also not forget that we should speak to Greta Thunberg. How dare you? How dare you?
To this big question, how do you regulate the ownership of data?
Or people.
The future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself may depend on the answer to this question. Thank you.
All right, we can maybe watch the interview after on another video. Didn't want to make this too long. Just wanted to do a response video to this disgusting person and the World Economic Forum, which will be our future overlords. So thanks for watching, guys. And please post comments, share, subscribe if you like this, and press the notification so that you can see when I do my next live stream or when my next video is posted. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. God bless. Love you.